Hey guys, Travis here, and I'm here doing my original oratory speech, and I chose my topic of euthanasia and why it should be practiced. Now, euthanasia is uh, painlessly taking the life of someone who is suffering and eliminating said suffering. Now, I believe euthanasia should be practiced because it would allow people to die honorably with their pride intact. It would eliminate the suffering of those who are deemed incurable, and it would make room in hospitals for more patients, and therefore curable patients would receive better care. Now, my first point of dying honorably is humans are creatures of great pride. When you talk to people and they do something great, they talk and they're very prideful. Some you have humble people here and there, but a lot of people like, yes, I did that. It was great. Look at me go. Now, after the baby stage of our lives, we want like it's always been a dream to move out of mom's house, get a job, find a family of your own. Basically, you know, be yourself, be autonomous, live your own life instead of having mom and dad hold your hand the entire way or having people nudge you in the right direction all the time. Now, after your baby stage and your, adults, like your whole middle part of your life, and you hit your twilight, all of your autonomy, if you have a disease or if you have a disease or you're older, you don't have the autonomy. You basically lose the 60, 70 years, maybe even 80 if we're lucky, of autonomy that you put in. So to go from cooking your own meals to going to the bathroom on your own to living your own life, you have to deal with, you know, basically a second mother if you're in hospice care telling you what to do or doing it for you. And there's some people that can't even wipe their own asses. And when you hit age 80, that gets dehumanizing because you spend all your life, being yourself and doing what you want to do, and now you can't even do that. And, you know, I took 2 points from two different people that I have either talked to or read about. The first one is Maury Schwartz from Tuesdays with Maury. Amazing book if you haven't read it. But when he when he came down with ALS, or when it blew up and it really took effect and he couldn't do anything on his own anymore, he gave as an adult but took as a child, basically reverting back to his child stage when people would come over and massage his back and stuff like that. He would revert back to his childhood stage to cope with the fact that he can't wipe his own ass anymore. But on the polar opposite of that, my old English teacher, Mr. Bernier, he has very great pride, and he would take literally anything over losing that autonomy. He has said in class before, if I were to ever, get ALS, or if I were to ever become too old to do something, I would want to take my own life instead of have someone do it for me. And I feel like that just goes to show that we can't take away the autonomy of somebody, if that makes sense. And Amanda Vestone, previous senator for Australia, she said that breaking the laws and dying honorably is completely rational in itself, honorable, going on to say to oppose a law, to break it, and take the consequences is an honorable course of action. And, after your prime years, or after their prime years, normally people don't like to watch their body wither away. Or if I'm looking at myself in my case, I would not want to go through years, let's say year 15 to year 70, and then after year 70, lose all the autonomy that I had for the 55 years that I was in my prime years. So if it were me, I would want something like euthanasia. I'm not going to speak for everybody on that, but I'm going to give my standpoint on it. Secondly, euthanasia would also allow people who are suffering to end their suffering early, and it would also be very cost efficient for insurances and families. According to Anna Skitovsky, people who died due to advanced cancer had a range of $5,000 to $50,000 or more, with an average of $21,000. And in the same study, it shows later that people over the age of 65 paid $12.6 billion on just hospice care, and another $3.2 billion on drug expenses. Those two are both albatrosses to deal with. And when you have like advanced cancer that you know they can't take care of, or if you're old and you know you lived out your prime years, when you think fiscally, financially, in the advanced cancer case, we'll use that, with an average of $21,000, not to mention, you know, the lowest being $5,000. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have $5,000 just laying around. And, not every job gives you $5,000 in just a couple months' work. So, financially, fiscally, I believe that it would be very more cost efficient if people had the option to end their suffering early, or if they know that they're not gonna be around in a couple years' time. I feel like it would be more cost efficient to instead stretch it out as long as you can to end it when you know. And it would also free up space in hospitals, as many people who are deemed incurable also don't. People who are deemed incurable also still get treatment. Active measures to save life in terminally ill patients was 7 to 77% in a study by Professor Cordona. Now, that basically means patients that are set to die, patients who are told they're going to die, whether it's by cancer, whether it's by ALS, whether it's by anything, they have, procedures, surgeries, medications, all these things. But terminally ill doesn't mean they're going to get better. To preserve their life blindly is wrong. To preserve the life that they know they're going to lose, morally, ethically seems wrong, because you're giving them false hope as to how long they're going to be around. Euthanasia would not only end the suffering of these patients, but it would also allow curable patients to be admitted and receive proper treatment. And it would allow people who are suffering to end the suffering early. As I previously stated, the 7 to 77%, and a better example in this sentence is dialysis, radiology, and other procedures. Antibiotics administered is in the same category. 11% or 11 to 95%, meaning that doctors administered antibiotics to non-beneficial patients that are dying. And that same percentage goes to trying to save cardiovascular, endocrine, and digestive patients who are set to die. That's 11 to 95%. And the same study shows that patients with a DNR, which is a do not resuscitate order, received non-beneficial tests, prolonging their life. With a do not resuscitate order, which basically means if I stop breathing, don't help me breathe, or if my heart stops, don't restart it. So why would we give tests to people who have a DNR? Why would we preserve a DNR when they already know that they're not going to last that long? Euthanasia would limit the amount of useless tests administered to people who are going to die and would give those tests to positive prognosis or those with dark prognosis that can be cured, it would give those people a new lease on life. And I believe euthanasia is the next step to be practiced. And like I mentioned, it allows people to die with their pride intact. It would open up more space in hospitals and be more cost efficient and limiting money that is spent. And I ended off with 3 questions. What do you think? Do you agree with euthanasia? And this last question is, what would you do in the case of, you get ALS or you're too old to take care of yourself? What would you do? Thank you.